I did it this weekend. I did it. I did. Went to see the Elvis movie. Got to go see it with my son and my daughter. So the highlight of my week for sure. Weekend for sure. Beyond that, maybe all the way through the college football season. I posted a video on it. We did a movie review. Not here on this channel. Of course, this is all college football, but I posted a video elsewhere. I'll have to leave it in the chat if anybody has any interest in seeing it. All right, so I had my movie review, and if I continue on that path down that subject line, you may never get me back here. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate y'all being here on a Monday at noon Eastern Time. Hopefully everybody's caught on to the Summer Festival schedule. There it is, Summer Festival here at the Voice of College Football for now a second consecutive week, and hopefully throughout the entire summer, despite a very, 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 always very busy, but this 2022 summer, tack on a few more varies, busy summer. We will do our very best to uphold the announced summer schedule of Monday at noon Eastern Time, Thursday at 6 Eastern Time, and then Friday at 9 Eastern Time, keeping in mind that we've got our team live streams as well throughout the week. And one scheduling note there as well. Typically, Ohio State Live is Wednesday. It's going to be Tuesday this week. Ohio State Buckeyes Live Tuesday at 1:30 Eastern over on the Ohio State channel. Had a rather interesting back and forth with a few people on Twitter because I was posting Texas commits this morning. So there were 4 commits for Texas. And if you're looking out for your team, the commits are coming fast and furious. Of course, the dead period started today, June 27th. That doesn't mean others cannot commit, but the dead period in regards to contacting athletes and having them arrive on campus, that is a dead period that lasts until, I don't know, but started on June 27th. So the commits are flying in. Texas had 4 on Sunday. Texas had 1 more today. And out of those 5 commits, 4 offensive linemen. So I just found it rather odd that 2 offensive linemen had the exact ranking. So I thought that must be a typo. Has to be a typo. 2 offensive linemen, the exact same ranking at the position. And I double checked. I thought maybe one's a tackle, one's an interior lineman. No, same position. Talking Trevor Goolsby and Connor Stroh of Texas. And then I thought, okay, they've got the same state ranking. They've got the same national ranking. That's, I guess, not technically impossible. They could have the exact same score, but 2 players at the same position with the same score committing to the same school with all the same exact rankings seems rather odd and coincidental, like a once-in-a-lifetime coincidental. So I just posted it on Twitter. I said, is this much of a coincidence or not? Or did they just make a mistake? And I can understand 247 Sports. They do a remarkable job. They're my first go-to for recruiting for sure and for a number of things. And typically, because of their prowess, they pop up at the top of any Google search concerning college football anyway, when I'm just looking for a piece of information that can be found in 52 different places. But so I just raised the issue, and somebody's jumping on me there because I was just simply stating this must be a mistake, right? There is a 0.1% chance, maybe less than that, because I've never come across it, that this is what it is, but most likely they just got their information duplicated. So somebody's going off on me in Twitter. That's fine. Because if it's identical, it's identical. If it's not, then they must have made a mistake, and that's fine. We all make mistakes. I make a ton of them here, and I'm sure 247 Sports, with all the listings and rankings and ratings and stars, everything, all the information flow through there, that they're going to make a mistake. That's fine. It's a reputable and excellent endeavor there. Okay. Amazon link, please, when you go to Amazon, use the link that we provide in the description section. Also, keep in mind that we are using StreamYard. If you have not joined us for our last few shows, there are so many advantages to StreamYard over the call-in system that we will stay with StreamYard as it stands right now. So the link is both in the description section and also in the live chat. So grab the link. If you want to be shown, great. If you do not want to be shown, then turn off your camera, because otherwise it is impossible for me to take you off the screen immediately. I cannot enter you without video, so you have to turn off your camera. I can enter you on and then wipe you off, but you're going to be seen for a second. All right, so please use the link if you want to join the show. Yeah, the commits are flying in, and we have posted videos last night and this morning. 5 Texas commits, 2 for Bama, including the second-ranked cornerback in the country, Tony Mitchell, number 2 cornerback, top 15 player nationally. Miami with a big quarterback in Jaden Rashada. He committed out of California on Sunday, as well as Iowa with a big offensive tackle commit as well. Not Jaden Proctor, but an offensive line commit out of Indianapolis. And we will be keeping our eye on the commits as they roll in and posting those videos, as you can see, to the various team channels. I'm not going to be posting them here, so keep in mind many times people miss information. They miss videos because we posted the team specific channels, and not everything goes right here on the main channel. We want to keep this clutter free here on the main channel. Appreciate you being here. All right, as we get to the chat here, and keep in mind once again that we are taking your calls per se, and you can join us on StreamYard. We have left the link in the chat. Yes, Exploring with Ben, midday call-in show. Well, you're up, you're Adam. We have spread the wealth for the summer. So we got your feedback on when to do the call-in shows, and we decided, hey, noon, evening, later at night. We got you set. We got you taken care of Monday at noon, Thursday at 6, Friday at 9. Oh, man, that came 29 minutes before we started. Malachi, I'm glad that you're eager to hear from us on college football today. And the title of the video, our topic today, not that we have to adhere to the topic, of course, but at the same time, I just thought I would throw it out there. What do you want to see from your team? What do you want to see from your team this season? And I'm not talking about national championship, conference championship. No, that's obvious. Everybody wants to win the national championship, wants to win your conference championship. No, that's not what we're looking for. We are looking for, okay, example here. Ohio State fan here. I want to see a tougher team. I want to see a defense that runs and hits and is not out of position. Not out of position, runs and hits as a group. And I would love to see one guy emerge out of those studs, those 5 stars up front, Zach Harrison, JT Tuimoloau, and Jack Sawyer. One of them to emerge as a type of Chase Young, maybe not to that degree. That's a lot to ask for, but somebody like that. Okay, we do have a couple calls in. We've got our Notre Dame fan, Will.
What's going on, Mark?
I'm on my
lunch break at work.
Well,
what I want to see from my team. I was going to go on a whole rant about a national championship, but I won't do that since you don't want me to do that.
Well, you haven't had one since 1988, so I would maybe make an exception there, even though Notre Dame earned one in 1993 as well.
Yes, we did. But 1988 was my parents' freshman year of college. I'm going to be a senior in college. Like, it's a whole gap.
Okay.
Without winning a national championship. And what I'm really happy with is the recruiting's been good, but I want the recruiting to keep being at this top 5 level every year. Like, I don't want it just to be this year. And I also just don't want to see my team. I feel like sometimes when we play, like, the top tier teams, like an Alabama, like a Clemson, like a Georgia. Well, we don't do this against Georgia, but I feel like too many times Like we get punched in the mouth and then we just fall down, collapse, and we're out of it. I just I don't think this will happen under Marcus Freeman, but like if it does, I will get upset, and you will see me pretty angry after a game.
So, Will, I'm going to address your first comment. So, before you can stack those top 5 classes, complete this one. Got to complete this one.
Well, I think it's going to be top 5, even if we
Okay.
don't close that well. That's why I meant.
Oh, they're going to have to close pretty well to be a top 5 class. I know they're number 1 now, but that's still a ways to go. And there's Bama's coming, Georgia's coming, of course.
Yeah. And also, I want to see a big win on the road. I feel like we haven't beaten a good team on the road since Oklahoma 2012. I feel like that's the last time we've won a big game on the road. And I feel like we'll have 2 shots with Ohio State and probably USC. USC, I feel like they should be a 10-win team this year. I mean, maybe that's a little much, but I feel like just the Pac-12 just isn't very. Besides Utah, I feel like their schedule should be all wins. So I feel like they should be a 10-win team.
They should be if you line them all up against that particular opponent. But obviously, you put them all together, I would expect USC is going to trip up a few times.
Yeah. So I feel like that would be a big road win because even when we did beat USC on the road, and I think it was 2018. That was not a good USC team. That was a 5-7 USC team, so it does not count as a big road win in my book. Do you think my expectations are valid?
Well, yeah, I think they're valid because that's something you haven't seen for a long time, but you've seen really good teams under Brian Kelly. But of course, the splits for Brian Kelly are pretty egregious. They're on both ends of the spectrum. He takes care of business. He took care of business, but yes, on the road, much like Michigan, on the road, elite opponents, and even overall against elite opponents, but especially on the road, dismal record.
Yeah. And I do not count that Clemson win in 2020. That was a very beat-up Clemson team.
Yeah, you can't take that away from Notre Dame in the sense that they can only play who's on the field. Yeah. But at the same time, if Notre Dame was compiling a different type of track record against those kind of teams, and that just happened to be another win, then that would be okay, well, they do this all the time. But yeah, it does stick out. And I want to credit Notre Dame for the win because they played a really good team. I think that was still a top 10 team they were playing, but it wasn't a top 3 team that they were playing without the 3 defensive players and, of course, Lawrence.
I did think they did a good job against the rush, though. I'll give them that. And I also want to see competent wide receiver coaching this year under Chancey Stuckey. I think we'll see it. I think we're seeing it in spring camp, but the last few years, the wide receiver play just hasn't been as great as it was in 2015. 2015, we had great wide receivers, and then I felt like the last couple of years, especially in that Oklahoma State game, I felt like they definitely cost the Irish with just bad route running. They weren't getting the tough passes from Jack Cohn.
How long has he been there coaching the wide receivers?
This is going to be his first year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last wide receiver coach just wasn't kept by Marcus Freeman.
Do we know where he went? I'm just curious. Guess we're going to look him up.
Yeah, I'm going to look him up.
This is what we're doing right now.
Dell Alexander. He is currently at Georgia Tech now.
Okay.
So quite a step down. I don't know what happened. Do you know what happened to Georgia Tech? They were good.
What happened to Georgia Tech?
Yeah, why they're bad?
Jeff Collins took over.
You're not
did
Jeff
a nice
Collins
job
fan?
at Temple, kind of in line with Al Golden. Matt Rule did a decent job at Temple, but the excuse was he had to turn over the roster from a triple option offense to a regular attack. But now he's working on season number 4. And 3 awful seasons, and it's really no excuse. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me on again, Mark.
Thanks, Will.
I feel a little better after venting. So have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Will. Have a good day. All right, we got the Notre Dame side. How about the Bama side? They played in the playoff 2 years ago. We got Christian on the line. What's going on, man?
Hey, hey, what's up, Mark? Thanks for having me on.
Of course. How are you doing? What's going on?
I'm doing good. So, two things I want to see this year from Alabama, and I think this will be key for a national title. It's not necessarily it's not, oh, it better be good, it better be good. But consistency, as you know, has kind of hurt defense and the offensive line, especially. I think it hasn't been a lack of talent. And I don't know if I want to say necessarily a lack of coaching, but I think just being consistent every single game. I mean, you look back last year, the offensive line struggled against Florida, and they really didn't have a good defense. We can't really do that against teams this year like Vanderbilt or Auburn or really any team out there. You know, if we could just get the offensive line, I know we bring in Eric Wolford, I think, who was at Arkansas State. He comes in as the offensive line coach. We bring back Pete Golding. We bring back guys like Henry To'oTo'o on the defense and Will Anderson, Dallas Turner. The talent is there. I want to see consistency from it.
Christian, so Nick Saban took over in 2007, got it rolling in 2008, dominant run games,
Yep.
obviously a slew of NFL backs, usually 4 of them at the same time on the roster. The offensive line has been the best, along with Wisconsin, I would say, in college football for the past 10 or 15 years since Saban. Was that the worst offensive line performance? I don't know that you could go, if we went game for game through Saban's entire tenure, that we would find a poor rushing game. I can't think of one. And we had, like you said, Florida, LSU, Auburn, and the second Georgia game.
Yeah. No, I don't think you can necessarily go back his whole tenure and find that, because I mean, it's been a dominant force even for the offensive line. So I don't know who took it with them when they left, but it just seemed like last year it seemed like Bryce was having moments, which Bryce handles pressure well too. I mean, you got to give him that. He's a good quarterback, but you can't have the quarterback running for his life the whole game.
No, you can't. He would be a guy that could handle it better than most, but still, no quarterback responds well to pressure. That's obvious.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to be curious about the offensive line, because that was stunning to me. Like, LSU, super talented on defense, but not a vintage LSU defense. Auburn, really good defensive front like they've had for the past 5 or 6 years. Probably won't have that this year. But just to watch that game, the Auburn game, 3 points up until the last drive of regulation, that's just unheard of. And still, Ballard came within 4 minutes of winning a national championship. Despite all these problems, they were that good. Missing Mechie and Williams in the championship game, still came within 4 minutes of a national championship.
That's something too. And, you know, players can affect it. I didn't think to mention this until now, but I would hope to see not a whole lot of injuries like on the receiving core. Really, you don't see any injuries at all, but I mean, losing some receivers. I think we did lose some guys on defense that kind of forced guys, even though we did well, it forced guys like Dallas Turner to step up as freshmen. Hopefully we can keep everybody healthy. Hopefully we can have consistency. And I really do think that this defense especially is what's going to carry the team to a national title. And it won't be what Georgia was, but I really think with Dallas Turner, with Will Anderson, Henry, with everybody on there, Jordan Battle leading the secondary, Malachi Moore, it's definitely what's going to shape the team. And if they can keep it together, keep it consistent, they can win some football games.
I think it's the best team in the country on paper, and I don't even hesitate in saying that. And I don't know if Georgia's going to be better or Ohio State, but I have more confidence in Georgia just because Ohio State's got to fix so much on defense. But I think Ohio State has a higher ceiling than Georgia, but I'm more confident and more secure in Georgia being a lead and being right there as well.
Yeah, because even Georgia with senior-led line, they played a lot of freshmen. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but they played a lot of young guys that still made the defense what it was. So it's not like they've lost it altogether. So they should still be a top 5, maybe even top 3 defense in the country. But I appreciate you letting me on, man. I'm gonna get out of here.
Thanks, Ballard. Have a good one.
Yes, sir.
Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media, right here on YouTube. Check him out. Bama fan. And all sorts of good comments here in the live chat. And once again, we have posted the link in the chat. And if you've missed our last couple call-in shows, this has just turned out to be a much better format for so many reasons. Doesn't cost any money. Doesn't cost the $12 to $15 per show, plus the subscriber rate, plus everybody says the audio is better. Plus, if you'd like to see your face and everybody else would like to see your face, you can come on. If you don't want to be shown, you don't need to. You can detach the camera. That's perfectly fine. And we will go from there and treat it just like a regular call-in show. Shop Amazon. Use the link in the description section. It doesn't cost you a penny. Same shopping experience. Joey, good to see you as well. Billy Tuesday, and Billy will let you know, and all Ohio State fans, that you got to keep up on those notifications, because this week Ohio State Live is on Tuesday. Tuesday programming note here, Tuesday for Buckeyes Live, 1:30 Eastern. Joey's asking, Mark, what is your thought on how insecure the Ohio State that they copyright the what a joke? Well, you got to copyright things in this day and age. I don't know if that has anything with insecurity. That has to do with protecting a brand. I was not insecure about calling us the voice of college football, but I didn't want everybody else calling themselves the voice of college football, so we branded it. It's patented. It's called business. Erica's here. Good to see Erica. Thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate that, Erica. Erica joins us on our Hawkeyes show. That's also on Tuesday. Is phenomenal. Always have USC, Iowa, Nebraska, just about back to back to back. And then this week, Ohio State at 1:30. Erica says, what do the Hawkeyes want? We want a good, solid quarterback. Please. I posted my Big Ten quarterback. Great segue, Erica. I posted my Big Ten quarterback rankings today. Check them out. 15 quarterbacks in the Big Ten. I ranked them 15 all the way up to number 1. Spencer Petras ranks at. But again, thank you so much, Erica. We appreciate your contribution, your support. You're always on the Iowa channel for us. Thank you so much for that. Stoking the flame, as a Florida State fan, more offensive linemen, specifically tackles. Did you get the good news? We posted a video last night on Florida State's latest commit. Florida State has been stacking up 3 stars. Not good enough. Are there 3 stars that are going to be tremendous players, impact players? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with signing 3 stars. But if you send a class of 3 stars, you're not going to win. It's plain and simple. It is proven year after year after year after year. Find me the team that wins, and I mean wins a conference championship, is in conference championship contention. Let's make that the bar that signs 3 stars across the board. The closest I can say would be Wisconsin. Wisconsin, Iowa compete for conference championships by signing almost exclusively 3 stars. Nobody in the SEC comes close to that. The 10th or 11th best recruiting class in the SEC is loaded with 4 stars. South Carolina, Ole Miss, a lot of 4 stars. If we looked at Baylor's recruiting classes, and they, of course, just won the Big 12 championship, we would see there are some exceptions out there, but Florida State in Florida, best state for high school football talent in the ACC, needing to pass up Clemson, got to sign some 4-stars, and they got a really good one. The 6th rated interior offensive lineman. What was his name? What is his name? Kearney. I don't have it here, but we posted a video on the Florida State channel. I think it was, can't think of his first name. Kearney, offensive tackle, top 5 or 6 offensive lineman. Interior offensive lineman for Florida State. So you got one stroking the flame. Good one in 23. Now you got to wait until 2023 to see him play. He'll probably not be a factor or even play much until 24. So it's a long wait, but one step in the right direction. Again, if you want to join the show, grab the link in the comments section. George wants a 5-star quarterback, and instead I got a 4-star defensive lineman. Well, happy birthday, George. If we missed your birthday, George, let everybody sing happy birthday, and we can sing it together. If we can verify that, George, you had a birthday either today or just in the last couple of days, we will sing you happy birthday. That's the least we could do. Let's go to our next call here at the Voice of College Football. We got Blake on the line. Hey, Blake.
Yeah, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me well?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, well, my camera's off, but I had to show you. I'm a Michigan fan. I follow it pretty well. I follow recruiting pretty well because I have an interest in it, and I can keep up year round.
Yeah.
And I find it pretty ridiculous that Michigan can lose C.J. Carr, a big-time legacy recruit, Dante Moore, and all the other top 5-star targets in a matter of a couple months. And it's just an embarrassment that we can go from beating Ohio State, making the playoff, to not getting any 5-stars or any top 100 recruits really on our board. It's like an embarrassment to we do get the 3-stars and some 4-stars, and we get a lot of recruits. We don't get any good talent. We get guys that take time to develop, and for 3 years we're an average team. And it's like Jim Harbaugh needs to stop hiring guys that can coach and hire guys that can recruit. We have guys that can coach. We need recruiters.
Yeah, so you got 7 hard commits right now, only 1 in the top 100, Raylan Wilson, the linebacker, and everybody outside the 200 range, and 2 4-stars out of 7 commits. And again, you can win the Big Ten championship with a bunch of 3-stars, but you need 4 and 5 stars. You have to probably, I would say 2/3 of the class has to be 4 or 5 stars, mostly 4 stars.
Yeah, and it's like, Northwestern's the example of how you can win and really compete in the Big Ten, but they compete once every 4 or 5 years.
Yes. You don't want that at Michigan. And they compete in the other division too.
Yeah, every year we have to play one of the hardest schedules in college football. And we go through so many good teams that, like even Michigan State, a team we are one of our main rivals, obviously, like they're recruiting better than us for the first time in half a decade, 6 years.
Yeah, it is kind of mysterious considering the breakthrough last year that Harbaugh recruited, as you well know, top 8 to 12 in the country, losing to Ohio State, not getting to Indianapolis. Then they get to Indianapolis, beat Ohio State, and they're not off to the best of starts. But we're 6 months away from National Signing Day.
Yeah, Michigan usually is a team that gets their talent later than earlier. It's just how they've always done it. But they're what? They're obviously inside the top 30 right now. So they're going to have to really do something incredible to pull themselves out of the hole.
Yeah. So is there anybody in particular that you're either pleased with or not pleased with on these coaching staff from a recruiting standpoint?
I think right now, well, previously it was Josh Gaddis, but right now, I think the coach that he's the worst recruiter on the staff and just doesn't show like that good of an ability to pull in good talent. Like he's not a bad recruiter, but he can't pull in any like really talented players. Is the defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter. Like he's been here for a couple months and Michigan keeps trying to get talent on campus and he's the defensive coordinator and he has not been on any of the big visits. He hasn't met with any big time recruits. He hasn't done anything to recruit anybody. He's a defensive coordinator, and our defense is our strong suit. And it's been that for 7-8 years, and he has to be better than the offensive coordinator and the second best coach on the team, and he can't even go visit recruits.
Yeah, that would be alarming. That would be alarming. Well, Blake, we appreciate you stepping by. Anything else?
No, just wanted to make people real. I just want people to understand that Jesse Minter is, in my opinion, Jesse Minter was one of the worst hires in college football, because it's a sign when you won't go to, when you're a defensive coordinator and you go to a defensive school and you won't go on any visits to see any players, or doesn't talk to them any of the coaches, or doesn't do many press conferences. That's a little bit of a sign that you may be out of your league.
Would also be fascinating to know whether Harbaugh's addressed that with him.
I mean, he's been here for a couple months, and I don't know, Jim hasn't said anything about it. He hasn't even mentioned him really in anything, so I don't know what's going on, but I think it was a mistake to hire him. At least it's from my view right now.
Okay, Blake. Well, I appreciate the insight, because I didn't know that he was not going on recruiting trips, or not, grinding as you have to do in recruiting. You've got to be a grinder.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Blake.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. Michigan fan Blake with some good insight on Jess Minter, the most recent hire, defensive coordinator from Vanderbilt. He was also at, I don't want to screw up the school, I think it was Georgia State, Georgia Southern, one of those two, where he certainly lifted up the defensive ranks of that program. It was difficult to evaluate his work at Vandy because of obviously the talent gap against the competition in the league, and he was only there 1 or 2 seasons. Exploring with Ben, reminding everyone, smash the like button. Joey got himself a new West Virginia shirt. Now, Joey's going to knock me on the Ohio State trademark decision, but I got it. I got it, Joey. But he has ordered his new West Virginia shirt. Very nice. Using the Amazon link that we provide in the description section. Awesome. Thank you for that, Joey. Rob says, Kirk Ferentz has no love for star quarterbacks, love the game managers. He does. What is odd, so odd about that, is that his first successful quarterback was a playmaker with his legs, Brad Banks. Kirk Ferentz takes over a struggling program. He goes 1-10, and then it skyrockets. In 2002, 3, and 4, they finish in the top 10 in the nation. Iowa fans, think about that. Top 10 in the nation. When's the last time you finished top 10? 2015, and that was a weak top 10 team that got blasted in the Rose Bowl. Other than that, they finished in the top 10 the year they won the Orange Bowl, 2009. And those would be, I'm almost certain, Kirk Ferentz's 5 top 10 finishes at Iowa. And he had 3 right out of the gate. Turned around the program. Everybody thought this guy's one of the best coaches in college football. And in many facets, he is. But what is astounding about that is that he had the dynamic Heisman type finalist quarterback in Brad Banks, and they were successful. And he let him run around a little bit. Wasn't out of control, wasn't turning the ball over, wasn't making bad decisions. There is a balance. Just because you have a playmaker at quarterback doesn't mean he has to turn over the ball all over the place. Doesn't mean he has to play out of control. Doesn't mean he makes bad decisions. Why not threaten the defense? You can still run, even if Iowa ran the exact same offense and added absolutely no plays that highlighted a player like that at quarterback, you would still have that 4 or 5 times a game, if not more, that quarterback could find a seam when he's in the pocket and take off and pick up 3rd and 5, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. Right now, basically, if Spencer Petras cannot find somebody open downfield on a 3rd and long play, which is probably anything over 3rd and 7 for Iowa, I cannot back this up statistically. It's out there somewhere. It can be looked up. I would say past 3rd and 7, Iowa picks up that first down 15% of the time. If you've got a quarterback who can check, go through his reads quickly, or he just sees how many times we see it all day, every Saturday in the fall, watching play after play after play after pass play, gaps open up in the rush. And quarterbacks, they don't even have to be elite runners. They don't have to be Vince Young or Michael Vick. Bam, I got a gap right in front of me. I don't have to make this hard. I don't have to prove that I'm a great thrower. I'm going to throw the ball 25 times today at least. I've got a gap that wide in front of me that just opened up. Bam, run for the first down. And you know what? If it's a Brad Banks type player that Kirk Ferentz had and finished in the top 10 in the country 3 consecutive years at the beginning of his tenure, many of those times he's not just going to pick up the first down. He's going to make a guy miss, and that guy is going to outrun him to the corner, and suddenly it's a 43-yard gain. And when you get 43-yard gains on a drive, you turn your likelihood of converting points on that drive goes up dramatically, because you didn't have to go 5 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 2 yards, -4 yards. Got to make that up. Nope, 43. Boom, we're in field goal range. We are down to the 30 already. You got to make explosive plays. And that is so much easier to do with a quarterback who can threaten the defense. And it gives the defense so much more that they have to think about, worry about, and the defensive coordinator, even if you don't even run any plays. And I would suggest running a package of plays for that type of quarterback. Rob J., it doesn't make any sense. Ada Seuss 2002 calls Kirk Ferentz the Kirby of the North. Okay, I understand the correlation there. It's obvious. When is the last time, though, Iowa had a quarterback the caliber of Jake Fromm? Jake Fromm compared to Justin Fields, Jake Fromm compared to, from an accomplishment standpoint, Stetson Bennett. I don't know who's better. Stetson Bennett can move. So I would give him the edge. But I understand the comparison. But Kirby Smart, at least, well, he can recruit the great quarterback room. And he's going to put somebody out there that can threaten the defense. Now, Jake Fromm, again, a different type of quarterback, pocket passer that should have been benched in favor of Justin Fields, was not, but still, Jake Fromm could be a national championship quarterback right now. He played a really good game against Alabama, against a great defense. They had some calls go against them in that game. They kicked a field goal to take the lead in overtime, right? Or they missed it. Did they kick it or miss it? I think they lost 26-20, so they must have missed the field goal. And then, yeah, they had the kicker with the long last name. Podlesny. That the guy with the or was it Blankenship? Blankenship that missed the field goal. But Jake Fromm got him right there. So what Kirk Ferentz is doing or failing to do at Iowa, I would place way beyond Kirby Smart's range. Yeah, Dante Moore and CJ Carr leaving the state, that is deplorable especially considering the caliber of players in the state of Michigan and the rarity of those kind of players at that position in that state. Yes, Billy, it must be a love-hate relationship with Ferentz for Iowa fans. He's a remarkable coach. The guy's got a sterling reputation. Everybody talks about him. I have ranked him in past years. The first time I ever did a coach's ranking here was in 2010. Nobody watched it. I had no subscribers, but I did a coach's rankings. I had him in the top 10 in the country, top 5 to 10, something in that range. And it's not easy to win big at Iowa. There are not enough football players in Iowa to just stockpile an all Big Ten team. So they have to be developed to win. So they are doing that at Iowa. They continue to do that. But why not go get a quarterback, and why not open up the offense? Not the risk of the offense necessarily, not risking, but providing a threat to the defense. Kate's 1989 is answering our question, and good afternoon to you as well, sir. I want to see Mario Cristobal do big things at Miami and win ACC titles and win more national titles soon. Okay, not really in the spirit of the question, but I would think that would be everybody's answer. Let's win big, do big things. Okay, what is going to get you there? What do you want to see out of your program or your team in 2022 that is going to get you there? Pep Jones, I want Ryan Day to allow Stroud to destroy all the college football passing records this season. Okay. I'm not going to criticize that, but that would not concern me as a fan. Would you rather have Stroud set all kinds of college football passing records at Ohio State go 10-2 and miss the playoffs? Or would you rather see 11-1 or a march through the college football playoff as a Big Ten champion and a national championship game appearance and possible win versus Stroud just having a fine season? I would like to see Ohio State run the ball more and more effectively in big situations against big teams, because they were effective overall last year running the football, of course, and have big leads most of the season where they don't have to throw the ball or have CJ Stroud in the game to set records. All right. Again, we're looking for results here, and I understand the question. You guys are going right to the bottom line. Rob, seems like Georgia Tech would be a team that does better over the years. Well, they were for a long time under Paul Johnson. Atlanta is a phenomenal recruiting area. The two best metro areas in the country for producing NFL players are Atlanta and Houston. There it is. Firmus Paradox. I always want to say Firmus Product. Firmus Paradox. Atlanta, Houston are the top two. Yes, they are. The DMV is close. Odysseus 2002. In the spirit of the question, the topic today, very nice. Good for you. I want Ohio State offensive lines and defensive line to live up to their composite rankings. Yes, if they would live up to the recruiting rankings, they would be phenomenal. Dave, doesn't nearly every school have "the" in the name of their school? I don't believe so. The Michigan University? The University of Michigan? The Michigan State University? There, Billy's being selfish. 50-yard line seats, private jet to the game. I don't know where the jet's going to land. Will is asking whether a 3-star player has ever won the Heisman. I would guess yes. Let's see. We've got Burrow was a 4. Devontae Smith was a 4. Bryce Young a 5. If we go back to 2018 before Burrow. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. There's your 3-star right there. Let's look up Baker Mayfield's 247 Sports composite. He definitely was a 3-star. Baker Mayfield, 6'1", 220, out of Lake Travis High School in Austin, Texas. In the 2013 class, 3-star, 42nd ranked quarterback in the country, Baker Mayfield. The 160th rated player in the state of Texas. The 1,029th rated player in the country, Baker Mayfield, who turned out to be arguably the best player in the country. So it can be done. Yes, there's your 3-star right there. Your 2017 Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield. Super chat coming in from Erica. Thank you so much for that. Marco Lanes is one of our upcoming quarterbacks. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I've heard Corey pronounce it a few times, but I don't remember if it's Lioness or Lanes. Marco Lanes is one of our upcoming quarterbacks. He's very similar to Brad if you watch him on tape. Good news for you then. So Marco is 6'2", 220. He's the 25th rated quarterback in the class of 23, 7th rated player in the state of New Jersey, number 459 nationally. Okay. He received 8 offers, including Louisville, Illinois, UMass, Michigan State. Thanks, Erica. Appreciate that heads up. I know Corey's talked about him. A100 was Ty Detmer, a highly rated recruit, BYU Heisman winner, of course, 1990. Check out Ty Detmer's game-by-game numbers in 1990, and you tell me if he should have won the Heisman Trophy. But first, we'll try to find, there were not recruiting rankings before about 2002 or 3, but they weren't online. They weren't accessible to the public, but then you would hear about this player being highly rated. You would hear 4-star, 3-star. You would hear those terms, but you couldn't go to a source and find anything. Ty Detmer, of course, had a great college career, but again, yeah, Ty Detmer is my age. All right. So Ty Detmer, his stats the year he won the Heisman, because I still remember him accepting the Heisman from Hawaii because BYU had an extra game. So they were playing on that December Saturday from Hawaii, and he had a horrible game. So it was really highlighted by beating Miami, the number 1 team in the country. Oh, shoot. I thought there was a game log here. Let me see if I can find it. But even back then, when we understand that quarterbacks threw more picks than they do now, still, the game log is not impressive. It's impressive from the standpoint of throwing touchdowns and throwing for a ton of yards. See if I can. Here we go. Ty Detmer in 1990. They opened up with UTEP, and he lit them up 33 for 46, 2 picks, 387, and a touchdown. Then they had the monumental win that won him the Heisman against Miami, 28-21 win in Provo, 38 of 54 for 406, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Okay. But after that, sure, he threw 5 touchdowns against Washington State in a win. He had a 26 for 38 day for 514 and 3 touchdowns against San Diego State. Then BYU lost to Oregon by 2 touchdowns, and he had a pretty miserable game. A lot of yardage, 33 of 57 for 442, 2 touchdowns, but 5 picks against Oregon. Then he threw 3 more picks against Colorado State, even though BYU won 52-9. 3 more picks against Colorado State. 2 more picks against New Mexico as BYU won 55-31. Then he had a big day against Air Force. They must have been awful that year. 54-7. He threw for 397 and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Then they trounced Wyoming, but he had 2 picks and 2 touchdown passes, threw for 484. Then against Utah, they won by 3 scores. He threw 5 touchdowns and 2 picks. Then it was really late in the season. Against Utah State, BYU won 45-10. And Detmer threw 5 touchdowns and 5 picks. Now, there's a line for you. How many times do you find that? A quarterback throwing 5 touchdowns and 5 picks. 32 of 50 for 560. And then it started to unravel. Here's the BYU-Hawaii game. He wins the Heisman, accepts the Heisman from Hawaii. Then they go out and lose to Hawaii by 31 points. And he throws 4 picks, 3 touchdowns, 22 of 45. And then in the bowl game, they lose by 51 points to Texas A&M. Of course, he had already secured the Heisman. Postseason play doesn't factor into it, but still 1 TD and a pick, 11 of 23, only played. He must have got yanked or got hurt. And there you go. 28 picks on the season. And Searcher Green 9 stating what a lot of people do is that Rocket Ismail should have won the Heisman that year. He was the best player. Did not have great stats, though. Dan Davis, Mark, you had to fix the Pac-12. What would you do? Move to 8 conference games, adopt the 3-5 model while picking up Boise State and UNLV. What else? So if I was running the Pac-12, first of all, I think George Kliavkoff is doing a fine job. He is getting out ahead of issues, and he is being a leader in the sport. This simple move, but effective move, and good optic move that he made a few weeks ago in abolishing the divisions and playing a 1 versus 2 seed in the championship game before everybody else who's probably going to be headed there. The other 4 conferences are most likely headed there, but Kliavkoff got out in front of it and said, we're going to be the leader for once. The Pac-12 is actually going to be the leader and take the initiative and not follow everyone else. we're going to do it first. So that, more from an optics standpoint, a good move, but also technically for everyone who's concerned about fourth and fifth best teams in the conference winning a fluke conference championship game, which never happens, but still is a possibility. There it is. Okay. 8 conference games. See, I don't know why you do that. See, why most of the conferences have gone to 9, or at least the Big Ten, is you play more in-conference games. And if you've got a strong conference like the Big Ten, then you're playing more attractive games rather than playing lesser teams outside the conference. But the Pac-12 is weak to the extent that they may schedule better games outside the conference. I don't really think that that's key. Now, the issue with picking up Boise State or UNLV gets them into Vegas, but nobody cares about UNLV football in Vegas. And Boise State from a football product would be a good pickup, but based on what I know of the academic requirements of the Pac-12 schools, neither one of those schools will qualify. I put together a conference realignment 3 or 4 years ago where I put together 6 conferences with 12 teams each, 72 teams in the Power 5, and people seemed to like it. And I switched out, I believe, Colorado out of the Pac-12 and added Boise State. But that's all fantasy land, football only considerations. According to what I know, the Pac-12 is not going to expand with teams like Boise State because of the academic requirements, and most of the schools in the Big 12 cannot meet the academics as well. A100. I'm anxious to see Utah State, the Aggies, and Alabama. Utah State, of course, coming off a huge season, unexpectedly 11-3, and won the LA Bowl, the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. Those guys on Utah State are huge and can cause problems. I don't think it's going to be much of a strain for Alabama overall, but I do think that that's a much more challenging than your typical out-of-conference group of 5 game that Alabama would play. I've looked at that as well. Ty says, what's up, Mark? As a Buckeye fan, I want to see this defense return to the Silver Bullets, beating Michigan by 21 plus, then beating Bama for the ship. How about just beating Michigan? Are Ohio State fans going to be okay? Are Ohio State fans going to be satisfied, happy with a 1-point win against Notre Dame? It doesn't sound like it. Are they going to be happy with a 1-point win against Michigan? It doesn't sound like it. They should be. Yeah, Gary, that was obviously between Fisher to Barry, or Ken Hatfield and Fisher to Barry, because Hatfield had a great run in the 80s. The 1985 Air Force team in particular went 12-1. Michael says, do you think Texas Tech is underrated? Last year, many players missed 5 or more games. Most of them are back, did well in transfer portal. I got to say, I haven't really looked at Texas Tech under their new head coach, McIntyre. I've not looked at, or McGuire, I'm sorry, Joey McGuire. I've not really looked at the personnel and made that estimation, but I certainly will be as we make our predictions late in the summer. Texas Tech played well against most everyone. I know they gave up 1 million points to Texas. They lost that game like 70-35. But other than that, to look at Texas Tech and how well they competed game to game is decent. They beat Houston by 17 points. The Houston team that went 12-1 and beat Auburn in a bowl game and played a decent game against Cincinnati in the conference championship game. They beat them by 17. Yeah, they lost to Texas by 5 touchdowns. That was a mess. They beat West Virginia on the road by a field goal. They lost to TCU by 21, and TCU did not turn out to be good. Probably TCU's worst team, wow, in probably 20 years since Gary Patterson's start. Okay, Texas Tech beat Kansas by 27. They lost to, okay, this is where Matt Wells got fired. Texas Tech was 5-2, 5-2. Then they played a respectable Kansas State team and lost 25-24. Blew a second half lead, lost 25-24. Matt Wells got fired at 5-3, having just lost to a pretty good Kansas State team by 1 point. I thought that was very curious. We did have a Texas Tech guy on from 247 Sports to kind of put that in context, because I thought, that's strange. Texas Tech, how high are the standards at Texas Tech that they're 5-2, 1 point loss, they fire the coach? They got drubbed by Oklahoma by 31, but that was just after Wells got fired. They beat, this was the highlight of the season, they beat Iowa State by a field goal. They got shut out against Oklahoma State. They played Baylor within a field goal, 27-24. And then, of course, they had a big bowl game against Mississippi State. I got to say that was probably the surprise of the bowl season for me, that they just trucked Mississippi State, who was missing some players, but still trucked Mike Leach in Mississippi State 34-7. Ferris sees absolutely no way that Ohio State can beat Michigan. Odyssey's 2002, I understand that. Yes, that would not be good for the heart palpitations in the fourth quarter. Yes, I get that part of it. But I'm getting too much of this feeling that Ohio State fans just expect this curb stomping in week 1 and already a curb stomping in week 12 against Michigan. Win the games by 1, especially when you just lost to that team, to lose the conference championship. Bilal would rather see a destruction of Michigan, 77-3, and then lose the Natty. What's in store, Ahmad, for the offensive line at Ohio State is that they've only lost 2 starters. Paris Johnson is primed for a huge season at left tackle. And they are well stocked along the front and top of the depth chart. But after that, they've got questions. So if the Ohio State offensive line stays healthy, they will be one of the best 3 to 5 offensive lines in the country. If they get hurt, then we shall see. Their depth, their backups have not proven anything. Dan is asking the question about the conference schedule in the Pac-12 because he believes that the conference eats itself alive with 9 games. So, of course, if you play more, you're going to go 500 against yourself. So think of it this way. Most of these Power 5 conferences, most of them, not the Pac-12 in recent years, but most of them win 80-some% of their games out of conference because most of them are against the group of 5, lower level Power 5, but mostly group of 5 and FCS teams. But you go 50% in the conference. So you're stacking losses against yourself. It's also a guaranteed win, but so if you play 9 conference games, if I'm doing the math correctly, and you've got 12 teams, 12 times 9 is 81. Is that 81 games, or is that half of that, since you've got there's 2 teams playing in each game? as opposed to, it must be 81 because half of 81 is obviously not a whole number. So 12 times 9 is 81 versus 12 times 8. I'm sorry, 12 times 9 is 108. So that must be 54 games. Pardon me. 12 times 9, we'll get the math going. 12 times 9, 108, 54 games versus 12 times 8, 96. That's 43 games. You're playing 11 less games, 11 less losses. Most likely you're going to win 8 or 9 of those 11 games outside the conference instead of splitting. I get it. Will, absolutely, Notre Dame has a great chance to beat Ohio State. Ohio State is going to be playing a pretty experienced defense, but some new components with a new scheme under a new coach with no real live action to test it against. Had they had a non-conference game prior to, if they were playing Ball State week 1, then Notre Dame, I would have more confidence in Ohio State's defense. Yes, Gary, I'm right there with you. Gary Patterson's first season, which would have been 2000, was the worst. I don't think Gary Patterson gets nearly enough credit for what he accomplished at TCU. So he showed up in 2000, and he cleaned up on the 2000 season with a bowl game. So he started a full season in 2001, and TCU went 6-6. The 04 team went 5-6, and of course they went 5-7 last year. So really, technically, they did have a 4-8 season. That's right. When they first entered the Big 12, their second season was rough at 4-8, 2-7 in the conference. But other than that one season, the 2019 and 21 seasons were his worst. So they have been falling off the cliff since that banner 2014 season. Won the Rose Bowl in 2010. And then, of course, since then had the huge 2014 season in which they could have been selected to go to the playoff. And since then, 11-2 won the Alamo Bowl, finished in the top 10, 6-7, 11-3 won the Alamo Bowl, finished in the top 10. That was the year that they lost to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. But since 2017, Gary Patterson's teams 21-22. So whatever happened there, he lost it. Something. Couldn't replace the quarterbacks that he had, Trevon Boykin and others. Gary says Mike Leach is good every other year for in-game coaching. Clunker in a bowl game. I don't necessarily disagree with that in regards to the results on the field, but if you're talking about like half the time he's sporadic, he's inconsistent in his bowl performances, his team's bowl performance, correct. But if you truly mean every other year, like for some reason he's focused and they're locked in, they perform in postseason play one year, then not the next year, then another year, then another. Well, that's obviously not the case. That's a bit ridiculous. That would be a coincidence. All right, everyone. We appreciate you all being here for the Voice of College Football, and our summer festival rolls on Thursday at 6 Eastern, Friday at 9. And this is our schedule throughout the summer. Again, we will do our very best to be here and follow through on the schedule we have set forth in our summer festival. Monday at noon, Thursday at 6, Friday at 9. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we've got 4, count them, 4 team live streams. Ohio State at 1:30, USC at 4 Eastern, Iowa at 5:30 Eastern, Nebraska at 7. So we will see you then. Again, Buckeyes, Trojans, Hawkeyes, Huskers on Tuesday. See you then. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. In the meantime, check out our Big Ten quarterback rankings. Joe Long says, loop it. What does that mean? Like loop this video over and over and over and over and over? Yes, Tuesday's stacked. So we'll see you then.